Hello, friends, and welcome to the series on anxiety, depression, and the ways that it can affect our student performers as well as ourselves. Today, I'd like to talk to you all about meditation and what effects it has. Hopefully, get rid of any type of false narratives that you might have heard, or might just some assumptions you might have about meditation that may or may not be accurate, and just kind of talk about how useful it is to anybody, regardless of whether they have anxiety or depression, but especially to people that have anxiety and depression. So there's two different types of meditation, and one of them is where you empty the brain, you empty the mind, and it focuses on just being a little more flatline, a little more empty. And the other is referred to as mindfulness meditation, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So mindfulness meditation is not an emptying of the mind. It's actually a training of the mind. It's an active form of training that you do for your brain and your thoughts and your thought processes. So mindfulness meditation is focused on being in tune with what your body is and with what your surroundings are and what you're feeling, which is kind of the opposite of emptying the brain, but it really has an emphasis on just being very present. You be where your feet are and pay attention to what your feet feel like, to what your back feels like, what do your shoulders feel like, what does your brain feel like, and not trying to change it. And that's one of the things that we all instinctively try to do whenever we feel ourselves get anxious, or you feel that tightness in your chest, you want to make it go away. Mindfulness meditation really teaches you to not try and make things go away, but to just accept them and live next to them. And they will pass. And teaching all of us, anyone that does mindfulness meditation, regardless of age, to just be more aware of what your body feels like and aware of what your emotions are and how you're feeling so that you can accept them. And with that acceptance, there is a certain amount of peace that is found, even if it's in a state that you'd rather not be in, that's maybe not pleasant or enjoyable. And then working on remembering and kind of ingraining it into your psyche that these things will pass and you will come out the other side and you will be okay. So, the things that actually happen when you meditate over an extended period of time, not talking about within an individual session, but over the course of days, weeks, months, years, uh, there have been studies that have MRIs and EEGs that have kind of mapped the brain and found that the parts of the brain that are responsible for the mind wandering actually decrease. Meditation actually can change and alter the structure of your brain. Now, we're not talking about wholesale juggling of things, but we are talking about certain parts of the brain shrinking and other parts of the brain thickening. And so the mind wandering portion of your brain uh, actually decreases in size, and mindfulness meditation helps to break the wandering mind. Now, if you have anxiety or depression, that wandering mind is our enemy. It makes life so much more difficult because it is constantly giving you bad news and imagining the worst possible case scenario. And it just plays over and over again, and it's a spiral and constant tangents of bad and evil and nothing good. So, in addition to that, some other good things that meditation will do to the structure of your brain is it will actually cause there to be a thickening in the parts of your brain that are responsible for memory and the regulation of emotions. It also decreases the brain cell volume in the amygdala, which is the part of your brain responsible for fear, anxiety, and stress. So it reduces general anxiety as well as social anxiety and basically all things good. how do you learn how to meditate? Well, believe it or not, there's an app for that. The 3 top mindfulness meditation apps that are out there. Number 1, I would say Headspace. Number 2 is going to be Calm. And the 3rd is an app called Insight Timer. I view these apps kind of the same way I do medication. What works for one person might not work for another, but there's something out there for you that's going to work. Now, most of these apps are free initially. They're free to download, and they have like not a training period, if you will, but like a series of free sessions. And then after that, it's a monthly fee. Even if you can't afford the monthly fee, personally speaking, for Headspace, which is the app that I personally use, the 10 basic lessons on Headspace at the beginning are enough to give you the fundamentals that you need to engage in mindfulness meditation. And even if you just repeat those lessons, you're going to get all the benefits of mindfulness meditation. There are advantages to subscribing, but it's not necessary. At the end of the day, we have to retrain our brains, because what we're doing, what's ingrained in us, isn't working. When your brain goes into hyperdrive, if you're a Spaceballs fan, sometimes it goes plaid. And you just can't break the cycle. You're locked in a loop. And even if you're not having a panic attack, your brain, it just wants to follow those spirals. That's totally normal, and it can be broken. But like anything else, it's hard. When we first started to learn how to play, we struggled. Your first diddles probably sounded terrible. And when you first start to meditate, you probably won't do that great of a job either. But it's a skill. It's a skill set that you need for your brain. So for students that deal with anxiety long term, mindfulness meditation is a necessity. For students that deal with anxiety in the short term, that are more situational, which is more along the lines of what most people describe as normal, meditation is still really, really beneficial. It can help calm the brain, and it can help break the loop that the brain will find itself in, where it is just constantly anxious and it is going down the spiral of tangents of fail and misery and bad. So I encourage you right now, get out your cell phone, look up one of these apps, Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer, or just do a Google search and find one that works for you. It changed my life when I started meditating, and it can change yours too. So that's all for this time. Thank you all so much for allowing me to share this journey with you and to help spread awareness of mental health and things that we can do to help our students and one another. Until next time.